it's Teresa, welcome back to my channel. So even though this is something I have yet to wrap my head around, we are already almost halfway through the year of 2018. That is absolutely crazy to me. I honestly, like, where has the time gone, please? On the plus side, that means that it is time to do the mid-year book freakout tag, which I did last year for the first time and I really enjoyed doing it. It's basically just a way to look back on the first half of your reading year, and I don't know, I just enjoy that, so let's do it. At the time of filming this, I have read 57 books in 2018, which is really cool, so yes, guess who's rocking their Goodreads challenge? I'm like 5 books ahead or something. We're already starting off well with the first question, which is the best book you've read so far, and of course, in true Teresa fashion, I have 4. The first is my absolute favorite, and that's The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, or Evelyn, I don't know, I like alternate pronunciations, I don't know which is correct. I've done an individual book review for this, so I will link it in the cards if you want to check it out, which you should, because this book is amazing. I adored it so much. I was so blown away. It is like a thriller mystery novel, but it's so unique and it's such an like interesting concept. It's so complex but also so well done and so well written, and I'm just in love with it. I definitely want to reread this very soon to experience it again, and like now knowing the ending kind of hopefully catch on to some more things, and I'm just like so excited for it. So if you have not read this book, like if this is the only thing you take away from this video is to go read this one, like honestly, do it. You won't regret it. The second book that I really loved is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I've been putting this off. Like you can see the pages are really yellow because that's how long it's been sitting on my shelf without me reading it. But I finally did it this year and I really enjoyed it. It's high fantasy. There's a lot of world building and it's definitely not the most fast-paced novel, but if you're anything like me and you love high fantasies with a good world and like an amazing main character, then definitely go and check it out because it's just amazing. Then we have a non-fiction in the mix, which is Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer. This is obviously a book of the ascent of Mount Everest in 1996, in which Jon Krakauer himself participated and where several people unfortunately died due to the circumstances, and he just kind of explores those circumstances and gives you an insight into the climbing history of Mount Everest in general. And it's so gripping, it's so atmospheric. Even though this is a non-fiction novel, there's like a hint of like mystery to it because going into it you don't really know what happened that climbing season, and he just kind of unpacks the event and like gives you clues here and there like what might have happened. So I just think it's really well written. It's just chilling in the most literal sense of the word, and it's just a fantastic book that you should read. And finally, my last favorite book of the year so far is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is very famous. It's like a retelling of obviously the myth of Achilles and Patroclus, and it's just heartwarming. It's so well written. It like really makes the characters come to life, and the relationship that is explored between Achilles and Patroclus is so wonderful and so heartwarming, and I cried so much at the end of this, like literal, like I think I posted an Insta story, like literally my face was just like the worst like ugly crying face ever because this book is so beautiful and I just adored it. The next question is the best sequel you've read so far, and I surprisingly haven't read too many sequels yet this year, but still I have 3 that I think were really great. The first is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is the second book in the Red Rising trilogy. I thought it was even better than the first. It just like expanded upon the world so well, and like the story was interesting, and just I just loved it a lot. I binge read this in like a few days, and you should check out the series because the second book is really good. The next is also the second book in a series, which is kind of surprising because for me, typically, like I will like the second book less and then the third again a little more, but not with a series, and that's Wayward by Blake Crouch. This is the sequel to Pines, the third book being The Last Town. And I just love this one so much. Like in the first, we explore the mystery of this little town and what's going on. We get some insight. And then this, it deepens our understanding so much more. And like, it's just so fascinating and so fun. And I can't say much about it because it might spoil the first book, but you have to check out the series. I've said that before, like 1,000 times. And the last best sequel, I would say, is The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third book in the second era Mistborn series. I wasn't as big of a fan of the second one, again, which is more usual for me, but the third book was really, really cool. It was my favorite of the three. So well written, so much happened. Like, again, we expanded so much upon the existing world that I was just like, oh my god, I wanted more and more and more of it. And I just loved it. The next question is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to, and for this I again have two. First is Circe by Madeline Miller, which is another myth retelling, this time obviously of the witch Circe, and I have it on my shelf. I've just been like saving it for that moment where I know I'm like dying to read it. And then the second one is not Golden Sun, Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is book 4 in the Red Rising series. It came out this year, I think in January, and I was gonna read it right after Morningstar, but I got like burnt out, as I've said. Like, I read the trilogy like in the matter of like a week, so I just needed a breather, so that's why I haven't continued yet. But I definitely want to get to this one soon. Then we have the most anticipated release from the second half of the year, and the first of this is The Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the sequel to Strange to Dreamer, and the second one is Monstrous Volume 3. This is a graphic novel series that I love. Like, it's so awesome. It's so beautifully drawn. It's high fantasy, and it's so political and just so fun and like interesting, and I love it. So I'm really excited for the third one to come out. The next question is, what is the biggest disappointment in a book this year? And again, I have 4 answers because one isn't enough, okay? The first is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I think I give this book 2 stars. I don't understand the hype. I don't think it's very well written. I didn't think there was much world building. There's literally no plot, and I didn't care for it. Okay. The next is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I give this 3 stars, but because I rated, I think, both the first 2 books in this trilogy, the Farseer trilogy, 5 stars, I was just disappointed. There's like so much travel, so much unnecessary travel, I should say, and the ending is not what I wanted. So I still like enjoyed it a lot, but for what I expected from it, it was a disappointment. The third one is Morningstar by Pierce Brown. Yes, I know, I've literally mentioned almost every single one of the books. This is the third book in the trilogy, and why? I thought that a lot of the character arcs got abandoned. There was just so much space war in this, and it was so unnecessary, and I just didn't care about it anymore. I was really disappointed. There were decisions made that I didn't agree with. I couldn't wait for it to be over. I genuinely thought this is definitely the weakest book in the series so far. And my last disappointment was Illuminate by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Not that I went into this with too high expectations, but I still kind of thought it would be better than it was. I gave it 2 stars as well. Very bad. Didn't enjoy it. The cringiest thing ever. You can check out my review if you want to hear more thoughts. The next question is, what was the biggest surprise this year? And again, multiple answer because, hello, I'm me. And now we're coming actually full circle because the first book is in fact Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I went into this book expecting very little from it. I honestly thought this was going to be the most generic dystopian YA novel, and in a sense it is, because the premise is literally so generic. But it blew me away like crazy. And I said before, I think this book is living proof that you don't have to have the most outlandish premise to write a fantastic novel. I know that the premise has been done before plenty of times, but it is so well done in this one. It's masterfully crafted, and I really loved it so much. Oh my god. The next one is The Widows of Malabar Hill by Sajata Massey. This is a new release, and again, I didn't have like any expectations basically of it. It's a thriller set in 1920s Bombay, and I really loved it. I also did a review on this one. I will link all the reviews that I talk about, or that I mentioned in this video, in the description if you want to check them out. It's really well written, it's fun, but it also explores like deeper topics such as like equality for women and like women's rights in the 1920s in India, and it's just really interesting and I loved it. And finally, because I can't mention this book enough, is The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, again because I thought I was gonna like it, but I didn't think that it was gonna blow me away as much as it did. So I think it's no surprise for me to say that my favorite new author that I've discovered this year is probably Stuart Turton. This is his only book ever. This is also his debut novel. Duh. And I'm sad about it, and I really wish he would write more. I'm sure he will because he's a fantastic author and it would be an actual waste. And my second favorite new author was Meg Howry. I read The Crane's Dance by her this year and literally instantly bought like both her other books, which I haven't read yet, but I really want to because I love her writing style. I think she's really talented and I really enjoyed this book. The next question is, what is your newest fictional crush? I don't really have many of them, but I do have like two that I would consider for this, I think. The first being Quoth, the main character of The Name of the Wind, just because he's really endearing and like because I got to know him so well, like I just care about him a lot, okay? And the second one is Captain Wentworth from Persuasion by Jane Austen, which I know what you're thinking. There's something about the like gentlemen of that era that's just really attractive. Just saying. The next question is, what is your favorite new main character or just character in general? And I have again three. The first is Wayne from the Second Year in Mistborn books I've said before. He's just so funny, hilarious. He's a very interesting and unique personality and just a lot of fun to read about him. Next is Cormoran Strike from The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling, just because, I mean, I think he's kind of stereotypical in a lot of his, you know, personality traits, but he's also really fun to read about and just kind of cool. And lastly is Nari or Nahri, I don't know how to pronounce that. I heard the author pronounce it and I don't think it can replicate that, so I'm just gonna keep saying Nari so I don't embarrass myself. But this is the main character of The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, which I read last month. Really enjoyed her. She's such a kick-ass, like, YA female protagonist, and I think more protagonists should be like her, so definitely her. Books that made you cry. Okay, one of them I've already mentioned, The Song of Achilles. I've said sobbing, ugly crying over this for hours. That happened. The next one that made me cry is also Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer, again, because just imagining these people up there in like these dire situations and the things that happen to them, it's just like, and so real, like this actually happened. And lastly, 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. So many emotions. This book is such a heavy read, like it's amazing, but it also like really puts you in kind of sad mood overall. A book that made you happy. One is again Persuasion by Jane Austen. I blew through this book in a day. I had a blast. It was so enjoyable. Oh my god, there's something about Jane Austen's writing. And I know that like the book she writes, like they're all just about privileged people like having first world problems. I don't care. Okay? I do not care. I think it's fun, it's enjoyable to no end, and I had a lot of great times that day. And then the second one is Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by Balakar Chaswell. This is a very, I think, humorous book. It's about this community, I think like Punjabi community in London, and this woman that's like starts to offer like writing classes, but the people coming in are all like old widows that want to write erotic stories about like their fantasies, and it's just kind of absurd but also really funny, and I really enjoyed it. What was your favorite book to movie adaptation this year? So I've only watched one, so that's obviously the default answer, which is The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. I really enjoyed the adaptation. I thought it was very true to the book. I love the book. I love the movie. I watched it with other people that hadn't read the book, so I did have to explain like a few of the particulars, like because I wouldn't like. I think it's similar to the Hunger Games. I remember when I watched the Hunger Games in cinema with my friends, I had to explain to them like, you know, the backstory a lot because that's kind of what they caught in the adaptations. But I still think it was well done. My friends enjoyed it as well, and yeah. Watch it if you have read the book, but definitely read the book first. What is the favorite review you wrote this year, or for like booktubers, your favorite video? So I'm gonna go with like video review, right? Because that's like mix of both. I have two, and they're both rant videos, of course. The first is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I hated this book, so I ranted about it, and you guys seem to have enjoyed it. And the second is again Illuminate, because I really took my time. I took like notes, I annotated the book, and I had a lot to say. I had lots of quotes. Bringing receipts to the rant is always a good thing. So I really enjoyed that one, and you should go watch both, please, because they were a lot of work. What is the most beautiful book that you got this year? And this 100% has to go to The Best We Could Do by T-Boy. I don't think I've shown you like exactly what it looks like, so I'll try to like film some clips of it after like close-ups that I'll insert here so you can watch it. This book is stunning. It's a graphic novel memoir, and the art is beautiful. Like everything about the book is beautiful. The end pages, the naked hardcover, just everything. And the story is magnificent as well. And oh, this also made me cry. I should mention that. Like this actually also goes for the other question because I cried a lot. And then lastly, what books do you definitely have to read before the end of the year? One is my current read, which is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. Actually, you could put anything on my project TBR for this year as this answer, but I'm going with this particularly because it's kind of chunker and it's hard. I'm like currently just at the start of the second book in this trilogy, and I am actually really enjoying it. Like, I'm surprised because it definitely took me a minute to get back into it, but I love it. Definitely this one. And then the second one is the Historic Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman, which I've also been like currently reading for ages. It is crazy. I have to just finish that book because of like the 1.5 books that I still have left of the trilogy, because it's been a long time. And that is it for my answers for this tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love this tag so much. I can't wait to do it again next year. I mean, I'm definitely not already getting ahead of myself. Let me know what you thought of this video, and definitely give it a like and subscribe. I upload new videos every Tuesday and Friday. And let me know in the comments what was your favorite book that you've read so far, or what was your biggest disappointment. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon. Have a lovely week. Bye!